are starting your journey from success to significance. That's the way you have to think. When you make the transition, is immaterial, but you need to think of significance when you think of success. These are not two independent things, and that's how the evolution happened with them. Now, what implication does it have for us in terms of education? We all belong here to a great university that, as I said, gave us something to think about. And if you look at what the summities have done, is putting this seed in the younger generation. And what they do with it is their motive. Our role as academics is to give them the exposure, is to give them an idea, and then plant that idea and let them think about what to make of it. I always believe that many people get advice, few benefit from it. Some people would just listen to it and let it go. But our job is how we not convert everyone, but how we make sure we convey our message in the right way. So in the management education field, which I would tell you is only 100 years old, in 1908, Harvard set up the management school. In 1908, Northwestern Business School also started. Two schools that started before, one was University of Pennsylvania, and other was Dartmouth College. But at that time, this was only confined to undergraduate education. The MBA or the Master of Business Administration started at that period. And I didn't know much about it because I don't come from a management background. As in the introduction you heard that I did all these studies in mathematics and statistics. But I remember when I went to Dallas, Texas to do a PhD in applied mathematics, I used to help students who had mathematics problems. So the student one day told me, he says, Deepak, you can explain these things so well. Why are you spoiling your career in mathematics? You can get better return on your intellect. I said, how can I? He didn't talk about return on investment, he said return on intellect. He used the word you can get better ROI. I said, what do you mean by it? He says, for return on your intellect. I said, how can I do that? He said, move to management. Do a PhD in management. I said, I have never been to a business school, what do you mean by it? He said, you have two good fields to pick. One is finance, other is marketing. Now, I was never interested in finance and so on. I'm not interested in all these numbers or what the stock price is and all these numbers. So I said, I will go to. So I didn't study any marketing, I just got a PhD in marketing because my thesis I applied to some business problems. And that's the time when I started looking at the history. And when I became the dean, you are asked to give speeches. So I thought one good speech you can always give about is the past. Analyze the past and give, and then by the time you talk about the future, when people who say this didn't work, I will be out of this planet anyway. So it is always good. So I thought that what was the theme earlier? People taught this with case studies. And what are case studies? These are what you read about companies. Some case studies would show why this product didn't work, why this product worked, different aspects. And the decisions were made by judgment or intuition. And that was the thing, and the focus was on business relevance. Most of the teachers in business schools were what I call coming from corporations. That's how it will be. And in many schools, management education was an evening program. People were working and coming in the evening. But then, this period was a different period. 60s to the late 90s. This was the time when I came to US in 1982-83. And at this time, people realized we see lots of intuition. But let's look at why this particular company did this. What should they have done? And that is what I call from intuition, we move to intelligence that comes from the knowledge. And business schools started hiring people from basic disciplines. I came from a background in mathematics and statistics. There are people who came from economics. I heard today someone who came from a background in anthropology. Lots of people came from psychology. And the whole emphasis was, how do you understand how decisions are made? And that was the time period when data analytics became very important. So you know, all these quantitative models, people started collecting data, and now they're analyzing the data to see what is happening. And the focus shifted from relevance to academic data. People started writing these papers in journals, and those papers were so sophisticated that only 7 people were able to read it, the 3 co-authors and the 4 referees. Right? Because this was the thing, if you read some of my papers, you won't even know what the purpose is here. But that was necessary to give it what I call, or to earn the respect of the physicist, of the chemist, of the economist, that yes, there is something these business school professors are doing which is full of academic. Now if you look today, 2000 and beyond, one thing that you would see in all school curriculum is this experiential global learning, where most of the schools would take a group of students to other countries and you do a project. People go to South America, people would go to Nicaragua, people would go to Thailand, people would go to Korea, China now a very common thing, and this was the experiential part. But the issues that are emerging is, first you see lots of things we read in the press about ethical behavior, business ethics. We hear about sustainability, because with everything there is also a negative. And this is my view. When I was sick, you can call yourself sick, or you can see the positive side of it. All of you know about the Newton's third law of motion. He said, to every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. That is in physical science. In human science or in social science, to every action, there is an equal and opposite delayed reaction. All the people who did some kind of cheating on the Wall Street, what did happen? They happened from a big villa to a small room in the jail. So the point I want to make is, don't think that the life is one-sided. Your reaction would come, but the only way you can delay the reaction is under your control, and that comes through your ethical behavior, what I call through humanity, humility, and honesty. And that is what we are going to see our young generation is going to look for. Because they have seen, when we were growing up, the world was so different that we didn't know what to look for. We came, all of Indians here can say, we came to US, we saw what this country had to offer. But I really believe that whatever we are today, it's not a gift. By gift I mean, we earned it through our efforts. And this country is very unique, because here what people respect is your personal effort. It's not the color, the caste, the creed, but who you are, what you have achieved, and they are very generous in terms of rewarding you the right reward. I cannot believe a person who never studied business became the dean of a top business school. So somebody asked me, how did this happen? What did you have that you got the dean of Kellogg School, which is the #1 rated business school? I I said, there are people who can fool people some of the time. I know how to fool people all the time. And every fool, the point I want to make is, there is no limit to what you can achieve, provided you are driven by values. And for that, you need to have the respect of the academic community. People would say he is just not a person who gives lectures. There has to be a rigor, but the rigor also has to be combined with relevance. And that's what I want to tell you, that what are we working? In almost every business schools today, if you see what I said at the end, the real move is towards entrepreneurialism or human capital. That to me is the only differentiator. Because what Nike makes and what Reebok makes are shoes. And we created an experiential learning program at the Kellogg School, and that's when I took a group of students in 1990 to Thailand. I was teaching there, and I had the head of Nike Thailand in my class. So I asked him that I have 36 students, would you allow us to visit your factory? He says, Dr. Jain, you taught me and it would be very good for me to show your students. When we went in the factory, there were two parallel working streams. So they showed us the design, then how they look at the basic product, and then how they do the different steps. Finally, they showed up the nice Nike shoe. So I asked the person, what is happening on the other side? He says, go and have a look. They were making Reeboks. So I said that I thought, he says, nothing there. The Reebok may have a different color to it, but we are using the same plant, the same people. In the morning shift they work on one side, in the afternoon shift they work on the other side. So I came back and I said that this differentiation of brand is only in your mind. And the designs may be different, but they all get done at some place. The same thing I learned when I come to this country. You have different places where you give your dry cleaning. The shops are different and the rates are different, but they all get dry cleaned at one place because they use the mass production to do that. Otherwise the cost would be very high. At the end, if you look carefully, the difference comes not because of the products. To me, the difference would come because of the people. And that I want to share with you what I believe. So first we were in this era, and this is not very old. It is old also and new also. Old in the sense, you look at a company like John Deere. Now John Deere was an entrepreneur, started as a small blacksmith business, created this product, later on scaled it to make tractors and other things. But the common thing he had was how you make farmers more productive, or how you make use of the land. And that today is John Deere and Company, which is, the reason I bring that is, and being a board of the director of that company, I have seen how they have protected the values till today. If you see the profile of the people who work there, they may not be from the very top schools, all of them. They may be from Iowa State University, University of Iowa, and others, but they feel emotionally connected to that place. And this is what I call, you are creating new business, and that new business would create employment, and that employment would also create new entrepreneurs. But the focus is on business. Then comes social entrepreneurship. We have been hearing a lot about it. And what's the theme about social entrepreneurship? How you do things for the society. So I'm sure that all the people here, if you look at our kids, since they have seen affluence growing under us, everything they have seen, they want to do something for the community. My daughter went and spent some time in India teaching kids in the slum. And after the teaching, all the students came and told her that Miss Jane, we gave her a pen He says, we collected X amount of paisas from everyone, and this is the sum. And that to her was so touching. Before that, she used to come and ask me, Dad, I want this, I want that, I want to go to Neiman Marcus, I want to go to Macy's. Now she has stopped thinking about that. That's a great benefit for me, right? But the point is, I could not have influenced that. But she learned that in the marketplace, in the business place, that we may have everything, but it's our responsibility. That's why I like the word social responsibility, that you may be successful, but you have something. The talk is on this. And this means to me, before you think of a great business or a great society, how do you yourself become a great person? Because spiritual entrepreneurship to me is you as an entrepreneur, you as a person, you need to make sure that you become an example for others. And that is the spirit inside you that would tell you, these are the things I would do, and these are the things I would never do, because this has more harm than just picking. So, my definition of spiritual entrepreneurship is, before you think of changing the world, before you think of changing the society, first change yourself. By change yourself means, what do you stand for? What is your individual brand? And then you can become that. And for that, you don't need to start there. So when people come to business schools, they are coming there to do something, to be successful. But that's not where your journey should be. And then you become a role model for others, that in spite of achieving all this, now the person is committed to doing this. And this is where I think US is a country which is very unique. After living in France, I have seen in Europe, this feeling of giving back is a very unique characteristic of this system. You know, even in our country, there are very rich people. They would give money to a temple. Rather than one Jain temple, they will create a Jain temple in every corner. But still, this feeling of giving to create something on education and others is not what you see happening. It could change. This generation may still have that feeling, but I think the next generation would change to other parts. So, the theme I want to bring is, it's not that one is built on the other, but you first have to change yourself before you change the world, and you can control that. But you control that when you see other role models. Why these people are like this? Why do people believe in vegetarianism? My simple answer is that it helps you control your efforts. The reason is, when you eat a diet that does not create extra excitement in you, then you can use that energy for other purposes. We have never touched alcohol because it can put you in a different state where you do things not intentionally but not knowing, and that can hurt other people. Until that stage you were fine. But once you cross the line, you are not controlling yourself. So how do we do this? This is so now let's look at human lives. So this is the core. I will put the whole thing. What do people look for? You go to school, you learn, then you have to go for an advanced education. People look for IQ, and you ask IQ, there are different tests people would do that, and they measure how intelligent you are. Now this is only one aspect of human intelligence. Then now people are focusing on this concept called emotional intelligence. Are you yourself? Are you for yourself? Or are you for someone else? And that is something very unique that came, and that's where I think that IQ is driven by mind. EQ is driven by body. And MQ, which we call the moral values, is what would be driven by soul. So if you look at the three phases of intelligence or entrepreneurship, business entrepreneurship is driven by IQ. You're an intelligent person, I can start my own business. And all these people would give examples. I never went to Stanford and still I can be successful. But Bill Gates can say this, Dell can say this. But remember, for every such successful, there are 1 million people who did the same thing and never went anywhere. So these are extreme examples, but most of the people who have been successful have been driven by the intellectual. Then comes people who have been successful and they go and do things for the emotional part.